Hi everyone, it's Linda from Linda's Ease in Arlington Heights and my camera person Debbie.
Hello.
We have some really fun things for you today. We have a guest speaker that's going to be coming on right after us, and that's Suellen. I think many of you have probably either taken classes from her. She's one of our wonderful teachers, and you're just going to really enjoy it. It's going to be on the Bernina Q24 long arm. But quite a few of you, I know, are maybe looking at it, but don't have one yet, or have maybe a Q20, which is a sit-down, or one of our Jukis, or one of our other domestic machines. So you can do some of this ruler work on your regular machine. Now, before we get into that, Suellen also teaches, and so does Jane, one of our wonderful other teachers who's been mentored by Suellen, these wonderful by Annie bags, and I wanted to show you those in place of the quilt today because we do have the quilt. It's going to actually be an instruction. I love this bag. You can keep all kinds of your notions in it. See how it zips so easily? It's got a little Velcro. It can open up, and I don't know if you can get in there. This was all quilted, either on your domestic or your long arm. These are the nettings that she's so well known for.
That's the elastic that people are using. The blue elastic at the top of the netting is what people are using on their masks.
And here I have, remember this happens to be the Adam Red that I cut in half because I use half of it for my mask. It's real soft and I just love it. It's really the most comfortable. Yep. But you should know that we are getting new, more elastic in because we're just about sold. I mean, you can't even imagine the amount of elastic going out of our store. So that will happen on Monday, and we also today, and we will also have some of the new twill tape, because some people just like the twill tape. I did do a demonstration on how to make your own. There's all kinds of ways to make your own straps. If that's what you like, you could even use this. So getting back to this bag though, I want you to know that this is the pattern. It's called Double Zip Gear Bag. It is on our website. And all of the supplies and everything are listed. And we are pulling together supplies because a lot of people, quite frankly, are, just want to do something like this. This is a pretty easy and pretty simple one to do. You can see it's got a zip in the side, which I think is wonderful. There's so you put your scissors in there. It's got a zip over here so you can get into your mesh. And I put rulers or things that you want to see real easily. And again, you've got all these little pockets in there. So I think this would be a wonderful little bag for you guys to think about. And then I have a couple other notions that I think will go right along with what we're doing today. Now, because Suellen is working on our Q24, she doesn't need the gloves. But if
and why is that? Why doesn't she need the gloves? Because she moves the machine around on top of the quilt.
And Debbie is an expert on this. I am not an expert on that part, but she really is. So interject.
Okay, so you would use gloves if you had either a domestic machine to do your free motion quilting, or if you had one of those long arm sit down machines where you're moving your quilt underneath the needle. So it gives you grip onto your quilt. When you wear these gloves, you can hold on to your quilt better so that you're in charge of sliding it around better. So we have all kinds of different brands of gloves. So if you are in the market for any gloves, we've got them in all sizes.
And I use them. I mean, because I'm not a
long armor.
I'm not an expert. Let's put it that way.
Okay, well that's okay.
But I do love it, and I find that these gloves really work well for me. And I have a couple pair. I have the lightweight, and then I have a little heavier one. Another notion that I wanted to show you, and I show this quite a bit, but I think it's just so great. It's the By Annie Stylus. Quite a few of you have mentioned it to me. These are all
stiletto
on our
or
website.
Stylus.
Yeah,
either word works.
I know, I use both. It's the one, the pokey. What did the lady just tell me? What is that tool? The wooden thing that's got that you poke, and it's got metal on one side and wood on the other. Well, this is it, and it is wonderful. I use it for
many different things.
A lot. So it is on our website, and we have a filter on our website. I know those of you that aren't used to this kind of thing, even myself, there is a search, and you can type in I don't know if they
the word
type.
Notion.
Yeah, and it'll go right to where it is, and then you can type the thing. The other thing that I love, because many of you know that I really do like the hand needles, the applique number 9, and then that needle threader. But this is really kind of a cool thing. It's a needle grip it, and people have told me they really like it. Put it on the tips of your fingers? Right. Yep, and they really like it when they're doing some handwork. And of course I have my little stash and go or stash and store, whatever they call it, with my tools in it that I'm normally using. Now, I don't think we're going to have the quilt today, but we are going to have it, I think, the next video that my sister did, Joan, and it is done on AccuQuilt. And the reason that I'm bringing it up, it's really cool, very easy. She did it in an afternoon. And we are having an AccuQuilt webinar.
Two different ones on the same day. Yeah. One at 10 a.m. and one after. I can't remember what the second. 2 to 4? 2
to 3 maybe. I don't know.
Okay, so there are 2 separate ones, folks. So if you signed up for only one, you can sign up for the second one as well. And what are they, Mom?
They're
free.
Yeah, they're free.
They're free.
And the reason we're saying that is normally AccuQuilt charges. They really do. And we got them to kind of waive this fee for this first time. So I hope you will really enjoy it. Sign up. There might be a limit. I don't know. We're getting close if there is, because I know there's a lot of people signed up.
So what day? That's on Wednesday,
it's on
correct?
Wednesday, right.
So Wednesday twice. So they have 2 different ones.
Right, and it should be on our website. Now, last thing, I have an embroidery design. I have a suede, and I want to show you what I did on my brother.
Oh, yeah, that's a built-in on the Luminaire, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a big one.
Oh,
it's a real big design. It's the new, there's an upgrade that I did with the new upgrade
very pretty.
And it really is easy to do. So I hope you're having some fun with these things and enjoying it. That's what we want. We want you to smile, have fun. So, don't think about anything else.
Have fun with Suellen at her house now.
Okay, Suellen, take it away.
You know, when it starts raining, we are very grateful for the rain because we just put our garden in this past week. And so now I can watch the rain watering it, and we don't have to take care of that. But it also gives me a really good excuse to spend the entire day sewing. I wanted to share a couple of the projects I'm working with you. Here's the garden. So you can see that we're not talking about a giant garden. I grew up with a giant garden, and so now I am very happy to have just a small type raised bed. In addition to making masks, you know, trying to be a good community member, I'm also wanting to support this year's high school seniors who are graduating without being able to go through graduation ceremonies. So I'm making a number of these t-shirt quilts, and you can use a lot of different backings for them. I think that no-show mesh was one that was talked about at the Floriani workshop. There's some good Pellon. I think Shape Flex 101 is another good one. And Linda Z's carries both of those. My personal favorite, and I think it's Debbie's favorite also, happens to be Floriani Dreamweave Fusible. And so the Dreamweave Fusible is what I have on the back of this quilt. So what I did was I cut out a 14-inch square from the shirt, and I cut out a 14-inch square from the Dreamweave Fusible. I fused them together, and then I trimmed it down to be 13.5. So I'll end up with about 20 13.5-inch squares that I will then make into a quilt for this high school senior. But you can see what it does is it keeps it very flexible, and so it's a cuddly kind of quilt. And that's what I wanted I didn't want it to feel like regular fabric. I wanted it to still feel cuddly like a t-shirt. So that's why I'm using that. I'm continuing to make some of the Annie bags. But today the focus is going to be on using ruler work. Now ruler work is what I did to make these bags here. This is the running with scissors and the take a stand. And I just dumped the scissors out. But this is what I did. And Amanda Murphy has some awesome panels. And so this I did on the domestic machine. And you can see that there I used the straight line. I also used some curves. And so these panels are a wonderful way to learn how to manipulate your rulers. And they're so busy that they really don't show your terrible mistakes. So I don't pretend to be a total expert on this. I'm sharing with you where I am right now and what I do know. Amanda Murphy also has some great fabric panels for practicing ruler work and for practicing free motion. So now as I'm getting set up for doing ruler work, there are a couple things. One of them is the base, and this you have to have if you're going to do ruler work on a long arm. And it's very easy to attach. Let me show you how. You simply move this over out of the way. This post goes in the front, and these wrap around the neck. And so I'm going to be careful to not hit the needle. And I simply put it on and press. That's all there is to it. And you can see it. Whoops, I have to get it up. There. That's all there is to it. And it stays in place, and it gives you a much better base for working on as you're doing your ruler work. The next part of the equation is the needle. And the needle's going to depend on what your fabric is. And on the Bernina website, they have a needle guide application that helps you know what needles work best for what kinds of applications. My machine, you know, different machines have personalities of their own. Mine happens to like the Bernina Pro needles. And so the Pro needles, they come in universals. This is an 80, a 90, 100. And then they also have jeans needles. And so this is a 90 and a 100 jeans needles. So depending on the fabric, in addition, they have a stretch knit, and that's my personal favorite when I'm working on the t-shirt quilts. So they have the 3 different Pro needles, but you can also use any Bernina needle, including twin needles. And so if you have the twin needle plate, you can put on the twin needle. You can use any kind of needle. You could use, you know, Schmetz has some really good chrome-plated needles that have then a Teflon kind of coating. So if you have a real sticky fabric, you might even try that. The Pro needles are just slightly longer and have a groove that is made so that it just really lets the hook mechanism come around. The other thing we're going to need are feet. This is my personal favorite for just everyday quilting, whether I'm doing a pantograph or if I'm doing blocks or if I'm doing free motion. It has a lip around here that's a little bit raised, and so it doesn't catch the edges. I can go all the way to the very edge of the quilt and it won't catch the edge. This is the free motion quilt that I use on my other domestic machine. And so it has a little hopper, but it has a dial here that makes it so you can adjust the exact height depending on the thickness of your fabric. So that's pretty nice. These 2 feet are if you want to have a little less bulk around when you're doing free motion. You can also use them for when you're doing just regular pantograph or the Q-matic kinds of work. And then this is a really sweet foot. You'll notice it has a metal place in the bottom and it has a hole here. This is for feeding either yarn or thread through, and so you can do some couching, and it's awesome. So those are the feet that I like using on my Bernina. I'm going to put on this foot. It's a 1/2 inch wide, and so from the center needle position, it's going to be a 1/4 inch away from whatever line I have it lined up when I'm using the ruler. So to put it on, you can do it with one hand. You put it up, and then you push on the lever, and that's it. So this is the ruler work foot that I use for doing ruler work, and it gives me a 1/4 inch on each side working with that. The other part of the equation then are the rulers that you use. There are some really great rulers. Some of my favorites have lots of lines on them. So these are Amanda Murphy's rulers, and you can see they have lots of lines for lining things up. And so these are the circles and the ovals and the curves and the waves. And so those are ones that I use quite a bit. This one is a fabulous a fabulous ruler, and I'll show you how I use this also. It's called the Line Tamer, not Lion Tamer, but Line Tamer. It is slick on the back, and so to use this or the regular Bernina rulers, you do need to have something that helps it grip on the back. So you can see I have little circles on the back that help groove. Now I don't like to just use the circles, and so I use the hole from the middle of the donut and the other parts as well, because it all sticks. And if you want to make some registration marks on your quilt, please do not use the heat and gone kinds of markers. These will leave marks on your quilt. They come back when your quilt gets cold. So please do not use these for marking your quilts. I recommend using chalk. And these are a couple chalk markers. If I have a light color, I'm going to use a blue chalk. If I have any other color that white will show on, this is what I'll use. And these come with a sharpener to keep them sharp, as well as a refill pack. And so it's a pretty good deal. To make the lines then on the quilt top, I like to have a kind of a play practice area. Now, so that I can, now I'm bringing this over so I have a platform to make this. I could have done the lines before coming here, before putting it up on the long arm. But I'm just going to make a 4-inch square. And once I have my 4-inch square, then we'll be able to start playing. And so that I can check this out before actually doing anything on my quilt. Okay, we're ready to start practicing. And so I have this mat, this practice panel right here. And what I wanted to figure out was what rulers would work best for this quilt here. So I have a wave, I've drawn a line, and so one thing that is absolutely critical is you have to have the foot down and the needle down before you put the ruler here, because if you put the ruler here and then the foot comes down on top of the ruler, you can damage your machine. So you have to have the foot down, the needle down, and then you put your ruler in place. So here we go. And there we go. I'm left-handed, and so for me, this is what works. And figuring out what pressure works, and I stop it and I readjust, and then I start again. So I think this ruler, looking at the strip around the outside, that will work just fine. The other part is we have these 4-inch squares, and I'm feeling really happy because I got a kit to make the Half Moon kit quilt a couple of years ago, and just from that one quilt kit, I was able to, in addition to the Half Moon quilt, I also got some additional quilts made out of that same fabric, and so this is a great way to play and practice. So these are 4-inch squares. I drew a 4-inch square here, and auditioning the different rulers, I think this size circle will work just fine. Okay. Another component that we need to talk about is the machine itself. And with the machine itself, it has 2 stitch regulators underneath. It's awesome, so that there are 2, and they have laser lights, and so you see them. You'll see the red shining through here, but it has 2 to have the stitch regulation, so all the stitches are the same length. BSR 1 means that no matter what, as you're stitching, the needle will keep moving. BSR 2, if you stop, it stops. And BSR 3 is a basting, and so you can have, you can baste your quilt, and then manual. I use the manual when I'm oiling the machine, and I have to oil it daily. The basting I use to baste around the edges of the quilt, or if I have a quilt that has some unevenness to it, sometimes I'll put some basting in the middle of the quilt as well. Let me show you the difference between BSR 1 and BSR 2. This is BSR 2, and this shows how I have the buttons set up. So you push the button, and then you push this, and you see the two red lights showing. Now I stopped, and so the machine stopped as well. Now I want the needle down. And then I turn. Now, if I have BSR 1 on, this is what happens. As I go, and I stop, it keeps going. It's perfect if you're doing designs that have points and you want to make sure that you have a point on it. It's great, but it will just keep going. And the next thing I want to audition is the size circle that I'm going to use, because I'm going to do just an orange peel kind of pattern on this little quilt. You can do orange peel free motion. I'm choosing to do it with ruler work, and so what I want to do is figure out, I have the different circle sizes, and this one looks too small to me when I line up that line. This one looks great. So it looks like this is about a 1/4 inch from each seam when I do that. Right like that. So I'll use this side right here. And so to just double check, I have this down in the corner. Oops. Okay, take 2. I needed to switch some button definitions around, so we're going to start again. So here we've gotten to the corner, and now the needle is down, the foot is down. I've moved the and I can see as I'm working here, I'm going to have to be careful not to catch that. But when you're doing ruler work, you do end up having to do it on all sides. And so that's why it's good to have these practices. And then here. Okay. All right, so now now I know that I have the correct rulers. I'm going to take this off so that it does not interfere with the quilt itself, because I don't want to catch it when I get close to the edge. So I'm just going to remove it. And come over to the little baby quilt. Now, when I'm going to start doing the orange peels, I need to figure out the path I'm going to take. And so as I look, I'm going to go here and then here and down and up. And I'll just go through it manually just to make sure that I know which direction everything is going to go. And so I'm just going to go quickly. I'm not sewing it. I'm just going through the motions. And then I get over to the corner, I come down, and then I'm going to finish it off going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm back where I started. and I have that all completed. So let's start. That means that I do have the laser light on. You'll see the laser here. And I also want to make sure that this is at the right height for me. So as I start this, I'm having to kind of pierce. So I'm going to raise the level of the, I'm going to raise the table up. When I'm doing pantographs or when I'm doing other kinds of things, I like to have it lower. But when I start doing ruler work, I want to be able to see in under the needle. And so this has my arms kind of just at a, hello there. This has my arms kind of parallel. It looks like I need to go down just a little bit. Whoops, went up farther. And you know, if you start getting tired, then it's nice to have, so this has my shoulders relaxed and my arms out like this. And so that this, for me, is the right height for doing ruler work versus having it lower when I want to see and lean over, because if I'm advancing a quilt, doing a pantograph, I don't want to lean on the quilt to get all the way to the back. So I will have it down lower. So we're ready to start. And I want to make sure that there is a 1/4 inch there. And I'm doing a terrible job, but something is holding up the machine back there. All right. Okay. And the other philosophy I have is, if you make a mistake, just keep making it. There, the machine is working now. I don't know what held the machine up there. Many other people are much faster at this, but for me, if I take my time, I end up happier with the product. Bernina foot is round, and so you can go all the way around the foot, in front, in back, the whole works. And so that if you're doing a circle, it's pretty nice to be able to have a totally round foot. The difference between a sit-down model and a stand-up long arm do you like moving the machine or do you like moving the fabric? And so they're very different in feel, but each one, you know, different people like the feeling of different ways. The other thing about a stand-up is that this does take more space than a sit-down. Both of them, you can do good ruler work with both. Something's hung up. There we go. So I prefer the stand-up, although I do use my domestic Bernina to do some sit-down. You know, if it's a very small piece, it works great to do it on for me, but I do so many very large quilts that for me having the stand-up works well. So now we've made it all the way across here. And we're ready to head back. Having the registration marks on these is great. So I'm sure that there are other people who have much more experience and expertise with this, but this shows you that even beginners can have some measure of success. With ruler work on a long arm. Now I need to get down to the next row, so I wanted to show you the Line Tamer. And this is awesome because I just put it on either side of the foot and put the line straight up the middle, and I can go right up the line. So now I'm ready to start the next row. So that's what you have with ruler work, and I will show you the finished product, and I have another one as well. But it's a lot of fun, and it lets you absolutely do some custom work on those quilts that are really special to you. What I've done is I've completed doing the inside of the quilt, and now I'm doing and I've heard it called the coping strip because it helps you cope with anything that may be irregular. So I've gone around the outside edge because as I went up and down here, then I wanted to make sure it was the same on the other sides. You can see that I do have minky on the back, and so it's nice with the ruler work. What I'm doing now is I'm going around a second time, and then I'll go around one third time. I marked the corners so I know where to stop, and this is the Line Tamer. So I'll show you how we're going to use this again. And you always want to make sure that you stop and you move. You don't want a very long ruler because you want to make sure you are always in control of your ruler. Now, so I'm coming down here, and so I'm going to put the crosshairs that are in the ruler equal with the crosshairs with my mark. And so then I know that I'll come down and stop right in the correct place. But you want to make sure you never Never try to, okay, I'm gonna switch this, get it out of the way so you can see a little better. You always wanna make sure that your ruler, and what's going on is this is all from remnants of things. And so this is a way to practice. But that means there's a seam here where I joined some remnant pieces of backing there. You need to make sure you keep the ruler lower than the top of your foot. Otherwise, your ruler can bounce up. Here, I'm going to have to do the other hand. These handles are nice because they can get up out of the way. Usually I'll have them both down, but with the camera I'm trying to facilitate that. Whoops. So with this seam here, it makes it a little challenging to keep the ruler down. But this is the way that you can have things to practice on. And learn. And so you can see we're coming up to the X again. And now I'm going to line this up and then I can turn it and get away from that seam. But when you're doing ruler work, you are going to go in all four directions. Now we're going to advance the quilt again. Okay, so that's how I'm doing the flashing around the outside, or I can call it a coping strip to help me cope with it. I'll be back when I finish this. I finished the quilting of this. You can see it's made, might not be perfect. Well, it isn't perfect. But still, those little imperfections lead to the character. And a lot of times ruler work and free motion quilting are not perfect. On the back, you can see the minky really takes the quilting well. And so these were practices for me to audition before I get to the main event. And so this is a quilt that I'm quilting up for my nephew. I made it for him. He lives in Norway, and I've tried to make quilts for each of my many nieces and nephews. And so on this one, I was happy on the first quilt that I did with the circles, the orange peel on the inside. I was not as happy with the arches around the outside. So on this one, I tried more straight lines. And so anyway, we will have fun on quilting the big one, but have fun, use your remnants. Even the back on this one is pieced. And just enjoy and use that to build your skills and have fun. So stay safe. And by the way, our dog Dandelion is right here. And she's saying, please, it stopped raining. I'm ready for a walk. So I think we're going to go take a walk now that the rain stopped. Bye-bye.